Hello everybody, Shifu the Cards here, doing another video in my series and on some Gwent beta decks. So as I've done these, I really haven't done any other decks besides monsters because I got a lot of monster cards. So I made some monster decks that have been pretty popular. So I haven't really looked at other factions or fractions. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to look at my first other fraction, and it's going to be Skellige. As a matter of fact, in the tournaments, we had two tournaments, Beta Brawls, hosted by Diviz. I did top 8 in the first one, and I did pretty good in the second one, but didn't make the top 8. I played mostly Skellige, believe it or not. In the first tournament, you could bring 3 decks. Everybody banned my monster deck. The second one, I was going to bring my monster decks, and actually, I probably would have done a lot better. But I just felt like everybody was going to bring monster, and monster versus monster is a very iffy proposition. So I made a Skellige deck. And the Skellige deck did really well, and I'll make a video on that. But as I was playing, I was seeing some things, and this deck kind of hit me as inspiration. And it kind of a lightning bolt, really. And so I tweaked my deck around it. And so, why am I excited about this deck? Well, what I found as I was playing, and I've been playing Skellige a lot more, is that the key to Skellige in this type of deck, or really in any kind of Skellige deck, is card control, which got me excited. Resource management. One of the things I loved about the early games of Gwent, the Silver Age of Gwent, as I call it, because of the Commander's Horn, Scorch, and Decoy were all basically new. If you could have 3, and now they're silver cards, so I call that the Silver Age. Was that it was all about who had the most cards in their hands would really win. If you could do good with spies and draw cards, and you have more plays than your opponent, you would win. So what I did was I built a deck totally around card and resource management, and it works really well, and it's actually a lot of fun, and it's very strategic to pull off. It's very fun to pull off, and you have to really outthink your opponent to pull this deck off. This deck isn't easy to play. This deck is very complicated to play because you have to play the right cards at the right times. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little video right now on the deck and how to play it, and then later tonight I'm going to stream on my channel, and of course you're watching a video, you'll see the video later. I make gameplay footage of this deck in action and kind of show you what I mean, because this deck is very complicated, and so I'm going to tell you the combos here in this video, but you're not going to really, you may not be able to see it all until you see it in action. So what is it built around? Well, the idea is that every card in this deck benefits from the other. It's the complete synergistic deck, unlike any deck I've built before. Weather monsters had synergy across the board because they were weather, but it wasn't as you didn't have to put much thought into it. I hate to say that, but it was pretty simple. We put down weather, the opponent can't do anything, you win. So it was not that difficult to play. And I highly recommend my Monster XL deck. I've made some tweaks to it. I'm going to do an addendum to my video here pretty soon because it's changed. When I made that Monster XL deck video, I didn't have a lot of cards. Now I have all monster cards, so I've changed it a little bit. Let's go back to this one. So we're going to go piece by piece on this one. The first card is Ciri. Ciri is very important. Now she can be changed with Geralt Igni. That doesn't go with card draw. It's really just a great card. But this one, I put her in just because I can use her to bait out opponents' plays, and when I lose the first round, because generally I want to pick a round to lose, hopefully not 2, right? It's either the first or second round. I want to pick a round to lose, and what she does is give me card advantage going into the third round. This is a deck where you actually pay attention to your cards in hand and your opponent's cards in hand. It's an exciting deck. It's a very intricate deck to pull off. But let's keep on going. So what Ciri does, you play her at 8. And then when you lose, she comes back to your hand. And it's important in this deck, even notice when you're passing. So in other words, if you're going to lose a round, you want to make sure that the opponent plays a card, so you're up 2 cards, and then Ciri comes back to your hand, so you're up 3 cards, technically. So it's all about when you play cards, how you play them, and the position you put yourself in. Sometimes you got to take gambles. It's an exciting deck to play because you've got to play it the right way, and you've got to take some risks. So Ciri comes to your hand. Because you have a lot of discardability in your hand, you want to also, so you have Ciri. And then you also want to have this guy, Madman Lugos. A lot of the cards you have, draw cards and then put them in your discard pile, which then pump up his strength. So you're constantly putting stuff in the graveyard and he's getting stronger. So he's your heavy hitter. He's your home run threat. He's your knockout punch in a lot of instances in the third round. Or second round, depending. Morkvarg, one of my favorite cards of the set. I love Skellige. Almost every Skellige deck I've ever had or built has Morkvarg in it because he's phenomenal. Morkvarg, if you have him in your first round, your first play, he gives you card advantage because he stays on the board. So he acts like another card you play from hand at the beginning. You got to think of him almost as a +1 because you're playing him every turn. Every game he's coming out 1. So he's +1 just by his simple presence of being on the board. That's very important. Clan Tersarch Skirmishers. This is a card that you won in your graveyard. You can play in the first, second round. You can just kind of play 5 and be safe. Or you can pull them from your graveyard late game because you can either have them discarded while you're searching or whatnot and give you a big punch of 4. And there'll be 5 in some cases. Also, they're Demetrian Bomb resistant, which is one of your big plays later on in the deck because that's their base strength, which is important. Clan Dunham Pirates are extremely synergistic with this deck. They function with 2 or 3 other cards. One, they discard 2 cards right as soon as you play them, which functions right with their captains, which will then make this card a 7 right on initial play. So it's very synergistic with that one. It adds 2 to the graveyard, which is synergistic with Madman Lugos. It gives you stuff to resurrect with Priestess of Freya. So it's very, very synergistic. I'm sitting here, I'm moving my screen up. Let me make sure I don't get it off the shot here. Sorry, got a little excited there. I think that's good. Make sure I got everything in place. There we go. Okay, so I should move my screen up. So it puts items into the graveyard. Clan Tordarch Shieldsmiths. I mean, if you've played Skellige, you know how important these guys are. Basically, it pumps up 4. What you want to do is, this guy is dependent on what's in your hand. If you have Morkvarg in your hand, pump up Morkvarg because he's going to come back and it can be points for you. If I have Priestess of Freya, I want to throw Priestess of Freya into your hand if you have 2 or more so that they kind of bring the heat whenever they come back because you're going to be bringing them back, obviously. If you've not played a Skellige deck, one of the things you need to know about Skellige is they are very bounce house friendly. So at turn 3 or turn 2, you're going to hear, you know, Freya, Mother, and Crone over and over and over and over again. One will bring out the next, bring out the next, bring out the next, bring out the next, pumps up Siegfrieda, and then you go for a pump up. Ermion draws 2 cards and then discards 2 cards from your hands to your deck. So you're changing your deck. You're getting the answers you need for whoever you're playing against. Really, is what you're doing there. You're looking for a Demetrian Bomb. Most cases, if you're playing a Soyatel or Northern Realms deck, you're looking for a card draw. You're looking for a decoy. You're looking for different things. He gives you answers and fills your hand out. Samuel for Trimmer is just a really good card to destroy your opponent's point total. That's really all it is. It just kind of gives you, again, plays to where you extend the game, knock them down, making them have to play more cards. Burner Brawn is just ridiculously awesome. I mean, draw 4 cards, keep 1 in your hand. I mean, first of all, you're searching for 4 cards in your deck, bringing out something you need. Sometimes 2 or 3 things you need, which is sometimes unfortunate. But that's why it's so hard to do a write-up on a technical part of this deck because you've got to play and pick your cards wisely. This is an advanced deck where you need to figure out who you're playing against, identify what they are, and get the right cards to counter it, and hope you get those cards. So Burner Brawn, of course. Donar is amazing. He gives them 8, but you don't care. A lot of times you just can give it to them when you've already lost a round, or you're playing Monster Weather deck. That's like the best play ever. When they put that fog down, you're like, oh, thank you. So you just give them 1, and you draw a card, and then you draw a card, and then one of the cards from your deck go into your graveyard, so you can use them to resource manipulate. Udrilic. Now this is a card that's interesting. Now you can go with another card that you can draw a card, discard a card. But I like him because if you play it right against a lot of Northern Realms players, you can take one of their medics. Or you can take one of their catapults, those freaking catapults we all know and love, so trebuchets. So Erdrilic is a really fun card, and it gives you a card advantage, again, because you're drawing a card to your hand. Even if you get a crap, like one time I played, I got a crappy card like an Arrakis. Didn't matter. Because that Arrakis was a card, was a stall, which let me work from a larger hand size and basically win the game. And it's technical. It's very technical how you're winning these games. Decoy. You're decoying Siegfrieda, really, or a Priestess of Freya. That's generally what she's there for. That's really what she's there for. Decoy's trying to get another bounce house, another bounce combo. Or if you know that you can bounce another Shieldsmith to your hand. But generally you're bouncing a Priestess of Freya to your hand, or to start the chain over again from round 2 to round 3 in case you lose. So it's just another way to continue with card advantage. So it's resource management, it's drawing cards, it's finding the right cards, it's countering your opponent, it's always being ahead in the count, it's looking at their cards in hand versus your card in hand and trying to dwindle them down while getting the right cards for you. It's a very fun deck. It's very technical. It's not easy to do. It's not easy to pull off, I'm not going to lie to you. But it wins very consistently. Also, the heroic ability is also very good. It summons 10 points of damage onto the board. You're summoning 2 5/7s. You want to do that. A lot of times I usually use the heroic ability later on in the game. But you want to do that specifically if you have Madman Lugos in your hand, because you want to add creatures to your graveyard to pump up his initial strength. So you got to look at it as, you're putting him at, you're summoning 10 and you're adding 2 to Madman Lugos if you have it in your hand. If you don't have it in your hand, you have enough options to try to draw him. And then sometimes there's some hard choices. I mean, sometimes you don't get the cards you need, but you look at it and you can, with this deck, draw 2, 3, 4, 7, I think 7 cards you can draw in this deck. Then you count out Ciri, because she can use to your hand, use twice, and then Morkvark, who can always stay on the board and has a +1. So you have enough to be able to control hand size and to control your opponent's aggression. So it's an interesting deck. It's my first in the Skellige series that I'm going to do. I'll be doing more in Skellige. I have a weather control deck and I have other options for you. But this is the very first in the Skellige look. And it's called Resource Management. Look for it on GwentDB.com, and also join our Gwent Discord server if you haven't already. We are running tournaments. Deviz is D-E-V-I-Z-Z is hosting weekly tournaments. So it's a very exciting time. We're getting our competitive scene rolling. I'd like to thank CD Projekt Red, all the people there, Rethaz specifically, really everybody that's been really supportive of our community. Please watch the Gwent After Dark podcast this Sunday at 2 o'clock Central Standard Time in the Americas. I think it's like 8 o'clock in Europe. Till then, Shifu the cards. I'll be doing a deck video right after this. I'll be streaming later tonight. I'll be doing a video on gameplay so you can see what I'm talking about. And I'll go through each one of these cards as I'm playing and explaining what I'm thinking and what I'm going against. So, thank you very much for watching. Y'all have a good day. Take care.